Brake caliper sticking on the Cherokee. Let's get into it. Hello and welcome to the channel. I am Chris, this is Dirty Trucker 08, and today we're working on a 2000 XJ. My son's Jeep Cherokee the other day. First day out driving it. Passenger side brake caliper wasn't quite releasing the way it should be. So today, since they're so cheap, instead of trying to fix it, we're just going to replace it. Less than 30 bucks at AutoZone, we get a new caliper put on. Hopefully, everything is good to go. But what we're going to try and do today is not bleed the brakes. I'm going to show you how I'm going to try and do it right now. On the Cherokee, the caliper is held on by two bolts. That would be this bolt here and one down here. On the 2000, at least this one, they are 1/2-inch bolts. Since it's his Jeep, he's going to pull them off. Get those two loose. Try not to hit my cameras. Yeah, once you break them loose, it won't be so bad. Try not to bust your knuckles. Now if I remember right, on these two bolts, you shouldn't have to pull them all the way out to get the caliper to come off. You'll break them loose, you'll pull them out until that end is released from the bracket, and then the whole thing should just lift right up. As you can see inside, you see that inner rubber boot? Yeah. When you pull them back, you should be able to see it slide just loose, and then the whole caliper should lift. Coming out. You might need to pry it a little bit, but you got to make sure you got both of those bolts back and far in there. Right up here. Right down in through here. Alright, go ahead and take your inner brake pad out. See, it just pops in. It's just a that down on the ground. Try not to touch the brake surface with your fingers if you can help it. Set that back so it's out of the ring. The front one, you can see the spring clips on the edge there. Just kind of grab one end of it and just pull it out towards the front. You don't have to grab the spring clips, that's just what's holding it. Right. Sit down back on the other one. And to make sure we've got that compressed all the way to get that fluid pushed back up into it, put that on here. You're going to put the round end inside there. Set that on top of that nut and drive it in. should be able to watch this surface sink back into the caliper. Shouldn't go back in there too much. That whole thing should go basically flush. Right now all we're doing is pushing that fluid back up into the line. Oh, you're good. Go ahead and take the clamp back off. It's easier when you're just changing brake pads because you can use the old pad instead of having to run that clamp all the way in like you did. You just leave the old inner pad on. Use that surface to squish it. Saves you a little time. Alright. So what we're going to do now, we're going to take the vice grips, and on this rubber line, we're going to try and pinch it off so we're not letting air go back up inside. And that still feels a little loose. Hold this. Let's tighten that up just a hair. That's too much. That's about perfect right there. So we're clamping off this rubber line, so whenever we take it loose up here at the caliper, we're not letting air back in the line. Hopefully, whenever we're done, we can put it back together, start pumping the brakes, and releasing with the clamp here, as opposed to just the bleeder valve, and save ourselves from having to re-bleed the whole brakes. It might work, it might not. We're going to give it a shot. But now, it's time to break this nut loose. Hang on. Okay. Now this is going to make a mess. So before that really starts coming out too much, we need to get a pan or something underneath this. So let me grab one of those. Alright, so I've got an oil pan to put down here. Go ahead and take that loose. So you might need to wiggle a little bit to get the tension so it's not at an angle. Apparently I tightened it up too much in my hand. It's because I'm so strong. It shouldn't be tight right now. Here's this angle, which is called combine. This right there should. It gets a lot easier. Okay, no force in it. We're good. Not losing a whole lot. As long as it stays vertical, it won't be bad. Otherwise, it's going to end up puking all over the place. So we're going to set this back over here for now. Alright, so the new brake caliper. I don't know if you guys can see this or not, but those holes right in there. I got one a while back where the hole was at the wrong height, and it was running into the washer as opposed to running into the brake. Caused me a huge pain. But these seem to be dead on, so that should work out fine. So the old one can just sit off the side. We'll use a new one. Gotta use new crush washers. So if there's still a washer on one side or the other of that, take it off. See, one of them came off with the caliper itself.
Yeah, I don't see it.
It's right there. See that copper color? That's got to come off. So grab your screwdriver. You can push something out that train. Yeah, a smaller screwdriver to stick inside of it, maybe. There you go. It's like a gasket on an oil filter. You don't want to double anything up. How clean is that surface? Is it decent?
It's not terrible.
Yeah, it looks fine. Let's see the other side. Also looks good. And we don't have fluid running out. So gravity should be pulling fluid out if it was going to do that. Now, that is the same. See how it's machined on both sides? One is for the driver's side, one is for the passenger side. The bleeder is supposed to be high. So whenever it goes on like this, the bleeder's up high, so it will fill with fluid and the air comes out the top. Does that make sense? Do you guys see that too? This casting can be machined either way, where the bleeder is on one side or the other. This one being the passenger side, the bleeder's on top. So it'll fill with fluid, and then the air comes out the top. If it was on the driver's side, it'd be mounted the other way around, and it'd be machined up here as opposed to down there. Alright, so leave that where it is. What you gotta do now, hang on to that. This goes through here. You see this flat spot here? This flat spot has to line up with this flat spot. Turn the ring. Then let's turn this around. There you go. You're not straight. Straighten it. There you go. Alright, so your angle, like say the angle you're trying to go with this and the angle that's going to be where it's, you get those lined up. Let's do it like this. You got that. See how it took the tension off of it? Alright, so we got that threaded in by hand. Go ahead and hold your caliper. Put some force on that. You want those copper crush washers to crush in. Ready? That should do the job. Let's go ahead and put our brake pads back on. Inner brake pad. Same as before, should just snap right on. Trying to touch it as little as possible because I don't want to put grease and fluid and anything like that on there. Alright, now you should be able to hook the bottom first. There you go. And the back's the same thing, it's got to fit in that groove. Need a little help? But the front looks like it's in, the back I can't tell. Now those two nuts, you gotta make sure they're back, or the two bolts, make sure they're not in, because that'll block you up if they're poking in and not slid back far enough. Remember you had to have them out
Yeah.
to get it loose. Shit just popping. Let me take a look. Let's see what we're binding on. The bottom nut's out completely.
Yeah, I have it on my hand.
Okay. Well, come take a look from this angle, and you'll be able to see what you're binding on. Stick your head in right here. See it?
Yeah.
That rubber boot piece? So, let's lean it back. Grab hold of that. Push that back. Same thing up there. And that should, hopefully, help you out. So much better, right? Alright, here's your bottom one. Switch out the socket. Assuming they're the same, I can check. Yep, same size. Start them by hand. Thread them in as far as you can. This is definitely something you don't want to cross thread. You might have to wiggle it up and down or something to get that to finally catch. And you'll feel it whenever it stops. Maybe the same thing on the bottom. You might have to give it a shimmy to get that thing to line up quite perfect. Because there will be a little bit of slop in this. But once it gets on those two bolts, everything stays tight like it should.
I keep slipping, so I don't know if it's
Hands are greasy?
going in. Okay.
Alright, well let me sit back in there. The top one's threading good. The bottom one is also threading good. So. Alright, let's wipe the hands off. My tool stand, get back in there and run her down. It'll be easier if you hold that socket with one hand. Because those nuts aren't, or the bolts aren't exactly super tight yet, so it might not want to be ratcheting back. That's why the hand on the socket helps. Get the other one set there before you tighten it. In case there's any little bit of binding, and make sure both of them, it's just like a nuts, putting the wheel back on. You set them all, and then you go through and torque. Working for you? So you're not wanting to kill it, you just want to make sure it's good and tight. Both of them are good and tight? Alright, let's go ahead and start our bleed. What I need you to do is go wash your hands because you're going to be inside the Jeep for this bit. So go get your hands washed and we'll be right back. Boy's inside the Jeep. He's going to pump the brake 3 times and hold it on the 3rd. Whenever he does, I'm going to slowly release the vice grip here and hopefully allow that fluid to push through. I've got the bleeder valve open. So what the goal is to push the fluid through without letting air back, because I'll re-squeeze it once he says it's gone to the floor. So it's going to be a 1, 2, 3 pumps, holds. As soon as that pedal starts to drop to the floor, he's going to yell in there at me once it hits the floor. Hopefully we can do this without having to re-bleed everything else. Let's give it a shot. Alright, start your 1, 2, 3 floors. Now on that 3rd one, I just want you to hold it, that 3rd pedal. So keep pressure on it. Whenever you feel the pedal hit the floor, you yell at me. Ready? You holding? Alright, do it again. You're gonna have to yell louder with that train. Feels like it's got good pressure? Alright, that one shot fluid out the reservoir, or out the actual caliper itself. Give that just a little bit of tension off the fingers. Alright, do it again. Alright, do it again. It's gone to the floor. Alright, do me 3 more pumps. Alright, give me 3 more. Make sure it seems like it's feeling like normal. Feels good? It feels like it should though normally? Okay, let off the brakes. It looks like it worked. We'll have to run this thing out and drive it. Hopefully, we didn't have to bleed the whole system. We're going to take this for a test drive. I'll let you know how it worked. Went for a test drive, everything feels exactly the way it should. So it did work out. You can take, or at least I was able to take, a pair of vice grips, squeeze that rubber line before I took everything off so we weren't letting any air back up into it. And then through the bleeding process, just using that rubber line to start bleeding it first, worked out pretty good. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this, possibly learned something. I will see you guys next time. Thanks for hanging out.